Welcome to Doctors at Work. My name is Matt Daniel, and this podcast is about doctors' careers. It's part of my mission to help others create successful and meaningful careers. Today's episode is about how you create a portfolio career, and I'm having a conversation with Catherine Fernando. She started her career in hospital medicine, but then moved into general practice and now combines GP work with family life and running her company Iyasu Medical Bags. In this episode, we discuss her early career decision making. She tells me about the importance of being true to yourself and doing the career that's right for you. And many of us want to do lots of different things, and that's okay, it can be done, and just maybe not all at the same time. You can do all of these things, but perhaps sequentially. I love the story of Iyasu Bags, from spotting a problem to a product that is now on the market and at the same time also supports women's empowerment initiative. I hope that the podcast is useful. Welcome, Catherine. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Matt. Thanks so much for having me on your podcast. So my name's Catherine Fernando, and I'm a GP in Haddington in Scotland. I work part-time as a GP, and I'm also a mother of four, and I have my own business. So last year, I founded a company called Iyasu, which means to heal, and we make medical bags which are designed for female healthcare workers.
And what a fantastic idea that is. And I specifically wanted us to focus today on portfolio careers. Yeah, the topic for today is portfolio careers. So I'm interested in maybe thinking a little bit more about your career. At what stage did you decide that you might not want to be a full-time doctor and you might want to do something else alongside?
Well, that actually happened very, very late on in my career. So it's a very recent development. I definitely went to medical school with no other plan other than to be a doctor as my vocation. And I've worked in the NHS for 22 years now, and been very, very quite career driven in the early stages. So I didn't actually pursue a career in general practice to start with. I did core medical training and did my MRCP. Then I progressed to becoming a rheumatology registrar and continued in rheumatology I was only a registrar for 15 months. And decided that actually I wasn't very happy in the department. So I then took the leap into general practice, did some pediatrics, did some gynecology, worked in all sorts of places actually, care of the elderly, hospital at home, and general practice. So all of that was very much full-time, very exam driven, getting all the diplomas that I possibly could. So it wasn't really until I had children that I went part-time. And then only a few years ago, I had an idea about starting my own business, and that was actually based on personal needs, because I was looking for a doctor's bag to do the clinical work that I do, and I honestly couldn't find anything that I liked. And I realised that actually the whole industry was aimed at men, despite the fact that it's now 50-50, or there's actually a few more girls going into medicine than there are boys at the medical student stage.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got to just go back then. So my podcast is all about careers, and I'm really interested in, because you've had multiple different iterations
Yes.
of your career there. So can you tell me a bit more about how did you make those decisions?
Absolutely. So I think that the intention from medical school was to do medicine, so to be a career physician, and I did pursue that up until a reasonably advanced point. I had my training number and I was all set to be a consultant, and I was like, yes, I'm going to be a consultant by the time I'm 30, and I was on that path. And I think back, and actually we did some questionnaires when we were at medical school, and they sort of tried to point you in the direction of what career would suit you best. And at that point, it was general practice for me, but I didn't want to be a GP. And I think that's maybe because of a kind of a cultural feeling about it, that I was always very ambitious. And a lot of the time, I think the culture in medicine is to push the people who are doing really, really well into hospital-focused careers, and maybe think about general practice as a secondary type of option. So it wasn't until I was much further down the line, and many more exams, and having done certain specialty interviews, etc., that actually it occurred to me that what I was doing didn't really correlate with my personality, and it wasn't sitting that well with me. So I think it sometimes takes a lot of time and maturity and experience to find the right career path for you.
Yeah. So it's interesting because that's all about how there's there's expectations of us as a profession or society, of us, of ourselves, isn't there, about how we should be and where we should be going, and sometimes the our own and societal's expectations actually that doesn't serve us because it doesn't align with what we're actually interested in, and it's a
You're
problem,
right.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's society inflicting their expectation upon us, and us not necessarily being true to ourselves, and doing what we really feel comfortable with inside. And I think a lot of people get pushed into certain career paths that aren't necessarily for them because of societal expectations, and also a culture in medicine as well.
And that must have been quite tricky because you had a national training number, you were going to be a consultant, and you left all of that behind. So that sounds like quite a big decision.
It was quite emotional actually, and it also took quite a lot of interviews with deans and educational department heads and things about why I was leaving this department. And yeah, it was a really difficult stage in my life. And actually very hard to leave that behind and start over again, because I went back to being an SHO, and a really inexperienced SHO in paediatrics, and I found the paediatric side of things fine, but neonates I was just terrified, absolutely terrified. And this is after working as an adult medicine doctor in ITU, and having actually done quite a lot of anaesthetics in my earlier years as well, and then they put me in neonates, and I was like, oh my gosh. This is too much. So much respect to you for what you do. It's your job, Matt, because yeah, children can be scary.
Oh, adults can be scary as well. But
That's true.
but it's interesting perspective, isn't it? It's kind of it's what we're used to. So okay, so I guess there's also a question. I'm guessing that all of those experiences that you've had, they've made you a better doctor for the fact that you have had that journey. So how have those kind of things made you a better doctor than you are today? That you are today?
Well, I think when you're a leader in any specialty, that life experience counts for so much. So any role of responsibility that you've had in life, all the patient encounters that you've experienced, the other people's stories that you've heard, the people you've worked with, the students you've taught, they all contribute to the person that you are now, and nothing that you've ever done is a waste of time, because I bring all that life experience to my work and my everyday conversations with my patients, and my relationships with my colleagues. So it's yes, it's not necessarily been a straightforward path, but it's all been very worthwhile, and I still use my rheumatology skills in general practice and do joint injections for people. I've also been a patient on the other side as well, which is a completely different story. But yes, it does give you very much an insight into what it's like to be on the other side of the table.
It's interesting because if I think of my career, it's maybe not quite as varied as yours, but I did lots of stuff other than ENT early on in my career, and definitely it's made me a better doctor. And particularly if I think one of the jobs that I did involved looking after surgical HDU, and when I then became an ENT registrar and then subsequently a consultant, I knew critically ill patients inside out. Yeah,
Absolutely.
not like an ITU doctor might, but if somebody was ill, it didn't faze me at all because I
Yes.
spent 6 months looking after people that were on a surgical side, really ill. So it definitely kind of contributed to making me a better doctor. And I think it's the changes in how people are trained, because I think it feels like people are trained on a very narrow base, sort of at
Yes.
the moment, certainly compared to me.
Hmm.
I mean, I graduated in '99, and at that
Hmm.
time, nobody knew what they wanted to do. Like, I mean, like
Yes.
we all did A&E because nobody knew, me included, nobody knew what they wanted to do. And I think that was a good thing. Whereas I think now there's a real pressure to get people streamlined, onto a conveyor belt, and I'm not sure that that's good for our careers.
No, absolutely. I completely agree. I was the same as you. I graduated 2001, and a lot of people did 6 months of this and 6 months of that, and made up their own kind of training schemes. Took a while to decide on their specialty. Went to Australia.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
yeah, that that as you say, that experience of being in ITU and managing really sick people, it's not just that you know how to manage the really, really ill patients, it's that responsibility and that stress that you can cope with, because when you go into general practice, you're not dealing with acutely unwell people most of the time, but you are dealing with a huge amount of responsibility,
Yeah.
and it's on you, because you're not necessarily, you've not got a team around you to discuss it in that instant. Yes, you can discuss it at coffee time, but it depends on your practice and how well supported you are. So it's having that level of risk taking and responsibility for your patient, that even though you're not in ITU, you still feel
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. How do we deal with this idea that people graduate and there's an expectation, there's a story, that there's a way, and people just automatically slot onto a conveyor belt that assigns them a certain career pathway, and it may be nothing to do with what they want. They might want to be somebody else, but there's a system that puts them onto a conveyor belt. How do we separate those two things?
I think it's really difficult. I think that, you have to be lucky in that situation if you find a good training post that suits you and nice people to support you, and that you end up happy. I think our training was maybe longer and we spent more hours and it was broader, but I do think there was maybe more job satisfaction, and maybe more camaraderie. It's really sad that a lot of medics are unhappy and disillusioned at the moment. But I can see why. I do empathize with them, and I don't know how easy it is now to change careers if you suddenly decide that you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I certainly found that my ambitions changed as I got older. Although I missed hospital team, I'm glad I'm in general practice now, because it's easier, it's sessional work, and I can balance that with other demands like having a family. And I've had a mum who's been unwell with Alzheimer's, or all these sort of things that develop as you get older in life. And now I've got my business, and I can do that on some days, and I can do general practice on others, because I'm at a stage in my career that I'm able to switch from one to the other and still know luckily what I'm talking about. So it's hard. It's really hard for the trainees now.
Yeah, yeah. And maybe my final question before we move to the present, what tips would you give to yourself, if you had to go back and give yourself a tip in, 2023, something like that, what tip would you give yourself?
Oh, I think just try to be true to your heart and to your personality, and that there's really good people needed in every specialty. General practice isn't a lesser specialty. It's just as difficult as hospital medicine, and we do, to all the GPs out there, I think we do a fantastic job coping with all the risk and the benign to the ridiculous.
Actually, I'd probably say that your job is much more difficult than my job, because I do two operations, and there's a vast team around me that helps. Whereas you do lots and lots of complexities and lots of shades of grey, and you're on your own. So I think I would say it's a much harder way. So
I'm sure there's challenges, equal challenges in both, but just different ones. Yeah.
yeah, different challenges. Okay.
Yes.
So tell me about Iyasu.
So Iyasu was created out of a need to provide doctors' bags for female healthcare workers, because as I mentioned before, most of the bags in the market they're just very masculine, and they're not particularly functional anymore for the job that we do. So they're very brown, very flat. You open up the Gladstone bag and it's just like a big empty pit that everything goes into, and your stethoscope gets tangled around your blood pressure cuff, and you're in front of patients pulling stuff out and just looking really, really unprofessional. So I wanted to design something that I would choose as a woman that I would like to carry as a nice bag, but I also wanted it to be eco-friendly. And I think everybody does. You know, we're all in this because we care about people, but part of that is that we care about the planet that we live in too, because environmental health and physical health are very much interlinked. So, so this dream was a beautiful collection of, you know, designer-looking bags that women would desire to have, but that would be functional for the professional job that we do, and also eco-friendly. So I thought of this about 4 years ago, and I went to a Business Gateway and told them, just said, this is what I'm going to do, and they're like, it's quite good. So so then it's very much gradually over the past few years finally become a reality, and we launched our collection of bags last March. Yeah.
Congratulations. And I saw that and I thought, wow, what a brilliant idea. And in terms of career planning and career decision making, I'm wondering, what was it about you that saw that problem and did something about it? Because you can't have been the only person to have seen that problem. Yeah, everybody else will have seen that problem, but you noticed it and you did something about it. So what kind of mindset, what kind of a person do you need to be to notice and then do something about it?
Gosh, that's really hard because I've never been a business person. You know, I was very, very much vocationally a doctor and not this. So it's actually very surprising that it is me. I think, you know, there are lots of other people with a better business mind that would have done a good job of this. And the thing is, I had the idea and people liked it and encouraged me, and they gave me a little bit of funding behind it. And then I felt that responsibility to not have wasted that funding. So every step of the way I went, I was like, well, I can't, you know, somebody else could have had that, and I've got to make this work now because otherwise somebody else's business could have thrived. And I've learned all the way along from other people, and I've enjoyed the learning process, and I've also wanted to be a role model for my children. So I'm very much you know, an advocate of female empowerment, and I've got 3 girls and 1 boy, and I was like, you can do whatever you want to do. So I guess that is the drive inside me, that I don't want to let my family down. I want to set a good example in everything that I do.
I hope you're enjoying the show. Please click subscribe so you'll be notified when new episodes become available. This podcast is part of my mission to help doctors create successful and meaningful careers. You can be part of that mission too by forwarding this show to one person who you think might benefit from listening. Thank you. Now on with the show. So there's an idea then that happens there's a problem that exists, yeah.
Yes.
And boy, are our lives full of problems, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a problem that exists, but what's different about what you've noticed is you've converted the problem into an idea. Yeah, because we're all really good at complaining about stuff, aren't we? Or certainly I am. I spend all
No, I am too. Absolutely.
I mean, you know, we're professional moaners, aren't we? Yeah, which is all right, yeah, because there's an awful lot of challenges. So I'm not suggesting that's not okay. But
Yeah.
what you did is there was a problem, but you sort of say, okay, well, how do I turn that into a solution? And you turn the problem into a solution, and that, that flick for this is a problem, how's a solution? And not only is it a solution, it's an opportunity. Yeah, an opportunity for you to do a business, and the opportunity for you to network, to learn, to be a role model, and to make money. Yeah, I mean, it's just a great opportunity, but it's flicking. Okay, this is a problem. Stuff's not working. How can I turn that into a solution? That's kind of that's what I'm hearing. That's the nugget of what you did that maybe the rest of us are not doing.
I think what it did allow me to do was unleash that creative side of myself. So I remember being at school and having got the grades in my higher exams, because I was a Scottish system, to get into medical school. And then I thought, okay, so sixth year I can do what I want. But my school was really, really academic. And I said, I want to do art, chemistry and biology. And they're like, no, you're not going to medical school and doing art. So I did physics, chemistry and biology, and it's a family joke. I'm awful at physics. Like A-level physics was just a step too far for my brain. And I wish I'd done art, and I wish I'd done that for my whole career. I've never had time to do art classes, sewing, all these creative things. And I've done a little bit, dabbled with my children. But I suppose I've always wanted to be in an artistic industry. And I think that is the one thing that I miss in medicine. I think you can do that to a certain extent as a surgeon, but you certainly can't as a general practitioner, unless you draw on your prescriptions or something. So I think there was always a little bit of me that wanted to create something beautiful.
Yeah. And that for me, that's a great example for me of doing things sequentially, because I think or certainly maybe the way that I think, or the way a lot of people think, say these are all the things that I want, and I think I have to do them all at the same time.
Yes.
And the reality is often it just isn't possible to do everything.
You're so right. Absolutely. And I think that relates to everyone. I think it relates very much to women. I think we sort of have to do things in different parts of our life, because when you have young children, it's incredibly busy and you're needed in that direction, and you can't do it all. I mean, it's great if you can maintain your career so that you can do that, but it all at once is not very feasible, and you're not a failure if you can't manage all that. You can do anything, but you can't do everything all at once.
Yeah. And that reminds me, I remember a female ENT consultant from Cincinnati, which is like the world's premier pediatric airway center. And she always talked about having an inverted career, because she says, men's careers kind of go up exponentially like that and then plateau off, and kind of the women's careers go like that and then go like that. So she's it's exactly the opposite.
She's absolutely right. I see that with myself and my husband. That exact pattern, and I feel like we're just at that point where I'm nowhere near, but I'm just gradually climbing up that curve to try to mirror his success. And I guess I always felt like I could do that because we were at exactly the same level when we were SHOs. We were both SHOs in medicine together, and we did our exams together, and I'd maybe passed mine a bit before him. But then he had the opportunity to soar, whereas I very much plateaued in terms of my career, and only now is it just gradually rising, and I'm able to dedicate that time to.
Yeah, so he's slowing down and you're only just getting going.
Oh, he wishes he was slowing down. We've got 4 children, so he can't slow down yet. They're very expensive.
Okay, so let's kind of go back then to the idea. So there's a problem that you've noticed, which everybody, or there'll be loads of other people that have seen exactly the same problem, but didn't do anything about it. Whereas you flicked a problem into a solution, and then you went and you did something about it. That kind of, to me, strikes me as really really key things in what you've achieved that other people haven't managed to achieve. So, and then the other thing I was interested was this idea of commitment. So, because you committed yourself and you took money, and the fact that you took money, that committed you to doing that, and you were working with other people and you were accountable to other people. So, tell me about the importance of accountability and commitment in bringing it to fruition.
I think that that was majority of that was actually a financial commitment, that I didn't want to have wasted that money. I could have spent that money on other things like paying off the mortgage or on my children and school fees, etc. So the fact that I had spent that on my business made me very, very much more driven to make that succeed. So I think that is a driving force in in bringing it all to fruition. And I got to this stage where I actually had to take a year out of medicine as well, so that I could completely focus on my business. And I never wanted to lose my career. I actually left my practice in floods of tears the day that I took a year out, because I was going to miss my colleagues. I was going home to work at my computer for a year. And at that point, I still didn't know whether I was actually going to have physical products that I could bring to market. So it's been difficult, but I've always honoured my commitments, whether it's patient, clinical, or professional, family, friends, everything. And that is a driving force.
If somebody came and said, you can have all this money, I'll give you £100,000, and you can spend it, it doesn't matter, would you have had the same amount of commitment?
I think I probably would have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would. I wouldn't want to waste it. I think could be put to good use somewhere else. And I think that the principles that I have in wanting to be a doctor and do that, they also come into my business as well, because I have some of the profits are being used. Well, I don't actually have any profits yet. Some of the sales, I should say, a percentage of the sales are going towards charities that help fund girls' education and female empowerment. And so they're going to a foundation called the Akea Foundation, which has been set up by a female doctor in Ghana. So we are actively contributing to them with the sales of a particular type of our bags. And then when we get into profit, we are going to contribute 5% of our profits to the Malala Fund, which helps girls worldwide with education. So you can't take the medic out of me. You have to just
So I was going to say, so how does being a doctor help you as a businesswoman?
Goodness, I think there's actually quite a few medical entrepreneurs out there. It's not that unusual. I noticed that there's another doctor on The Apprentice when I was watching last night, and on LinkedIn there's loads of doctorpreneurs, and lots of them have got tech companies and things. Those are the ones that are a lot more clever than me. So I think we are good at multitasking and just managing risk, and also communicating with people. These are all excellent qualities when you're running a business. So and I think you have to be ethical about things. You have to be fair. So a lot of qualities that we bring into our daily practice at work do come into just running a business well and treating people well. So
And
definite transferable skills.
what did you need to learn? What skills did you lack as a doctor when it came
Wow.
to businesswoman?
Everything. Not everything, because I've just said some are good. I really needed to learn again. I really needed to listen to all the experts and take all their advice on board. I started designing the bags myself. I drew pictures and things, and I thought, God, I don't have a degree in fashion design. I need a fashion designer to do this. So you become quite reliant on other team members. I didn't know anything about marketing. I'd never made a reel on social media. I didn't necessarily feel that I had to be the face of this brand. I thought that the product would speak for itself, but no, all the all the companies are like, no, they want to see you. They want to see the person behind this. You have to do this. And that was unexpected and out of my comfort zone. I wasn't necessarily the loudest person in the room, but I've had to grow. I've had to fake it till I make it in all sense, and be that person that the PR companies want you to be. And it's inside us. It's inside all of us. It's just embracing it and learning how to present yourself. And I think a lot of the younger doctors are better at doing that than my generation are. I get to see a lot of sort of FY2s on LinkedIn doing incredible things. But yeah, for me, I had to learn how to do all of that.
Yeah. And how does being a businesswoman make you a better doctor?
Oh, interesting. Goodness. I don't know.
I wonder what skills do you bring from the business world? What skills have you learned in the business world that you apply to your clinical work? Or
Well, I mean, I work with everybody. You know, I see patients from all different backgrounds, and I have much better understanding of what the world outside medicine involves and what it's like to manage people and to be self-employed. So I definitely have an insight. I mean, I talk a lot to people in my consultation room. I talk about everything. So I suppose I just bring life and life experience to it all. I guess it might be different if I was working in a like the private industry, but I just do NHS work, so no money changes hands when I'm seeing my patients, etc. But I am conscious of the costs in the NHS and trying to provide equality of care. I see a bit of a two-tier system developing now. So I do have insight into the finances and the pressures that there are.
it's interesting for me that there's a parallel world that you exist in, you know, which is, you know, industry or whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
And I think for me, you know, with my kind of career development type world, again, there's a parallel world that I exist in, and what I've learned in the parallel world that isn't medicine is that the rest of the world has very similar problems to what we have, and you know that wherever you go, everywhere is understaffed, everywhere is underfunded, everywhere is working really hard. And that doesn't make my job any less hard, but it sort of says, well, this is how the world is. Yeah, so there isn't. You know, I'm thinking in kind of my career world. You know, there's not a greener grass over there.
No,
and
that's true.
I could find a sector where careers are so much better. Well, you know, there is no sector where things are better. Everywhere is struggling. Everybody's busy. Everybody's under pressure. And I guess what I'm hearing you outline is it's less about you know, a nice middle class sort of doctor's existence in a nice middle class suburb. I don't know the Edinburgh, so I don't know what it's like for you. But you know, sort of for a lot of people, that is the existence, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Sort of middle class lives, middle class environment, middle class schools, and people forget that actually there's a world out there where people are on very different incomes, and the fact that you work in that world, that what I'm hearing from you is that that's a real asset to understanding what other people's lives are like.
Definitely. I've certainly, on maternity leave, when I wasn't working in the NHS, become caught up in a middle class bubble where I've become concerned about stupid things. and it's always good for me to go back into general practice, and it's very, very grounding. And I, you know, where I realize actually what the real issues are in life. Yeah.
I always remember in my clinical practice a defining moment being sort of, you know, like, did you bring a video of your child snoring?
Yeah.
No, and I'm kind of thinking, how have you not brought a video of your child snoring? Everybody brings a video of their child snoring.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't have a smartphone.
Okay.
Yeah. And I kind of thought, okay, so you know, so here's me
it's
thinking,
like, that's a good excuse.
Yeah. They haven't got a smartphone. That's why they can't bring a video. That for me was real insight
Mhm.
into real gulf in how some people exist in the UK, and it's always worth remembering and not making assumptions about what other people can afford.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
How do you balance sort of, you've got four children, you run Iyasu and you design and run that as a business and you're a GP. How do you balance all of that?
And there's not really any secret. I just work really, really hard. So it's yeah, when I started Iyasu, I was doing a diploma in dermatology with Cardiff University, so I was trying to get all my assignments in and everything. But I'm just, I think a lot of us are just used to being really busy, and if we weren't busy with one thing, we'd fill our life with something else. I'm sort of person I go, oh, wish I could have a day off, and then I have a day off, and I'll just fill it. So I just just getting the most that I can out of life, and just filling every moment, being productive. But I absolutely love being a mum. For I think that's the best thing in my life. I really like my NHS career, and my practice is super. I'm very lucky with my colleagues there. And the business is just, it's not really a number of hours that you can say you dedicate it to. It's part of you, and it's always there. So it's not on a time scale. It's just always being done or thought about.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And if anybody listening wants to see the bags, where do they go?
Oh, so you go to iyasubags.com. That's my website, and they're all named after inspirational, pioneering female doctors. Uh, so you can read all about them, and I really enjoy writing blogs about women in medicine who are past and present. So please have a read of those too. They're really inspiring, and if you would like me to write a blog about you, then please get in touch.
Fantastic. You'll be inundated with offers. And maybe
Oh,
let me bring us to a close then. So what would be your top tips for doctors at work?
I think look after yourself, actually. Do what is true to your heart. Follow your heart in your career, and you can do everything, just not all at once. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Catherine.
Thank you so much, Matt. Thank you.